Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Measles cases are surging now across the country. At least 17 states reporting cases. Nearly 600 in total are confirmed so far this year.
That means the country saw more cases in 1 month than is typically recorded in an entire year, based on records since about 1993. Here in Wisconsin, 2 cases are reported in Waukesha and Dane counties. But more than 4,300 people combined are possible close contacts for just those 2 cases. Local health officials are warning people who have not been vaccinated about the risks associated with measles. Victoria Frazier joining us now with this health alert. Victoria.
Yeah, Cammie, the measles virus is highly contagious and can cause serious health complications, including pneumonia, brain damage, deafness, and can even be deadly in some cases. Doctors say it's not too late to get vaccinated. Measles is one of the most contagious viruses in the world, with 1 in 4 people hospitalized for it. Doctors say symptoms don't always show up all at once, and the illness often starts like a bad cold before other signs appear.
5 days after symptoms start, you usually get these flat red maculas, which is a rash that usually starts at the head, and it works its way down the body through the trunk to the arms and the legs.
Child immunization typically happens for babies between 12 and 15 months, with the second shot between 4 to 6 years old. Doctors say immunization is 95% effective in immunity for measles and helps keep yourself and others safe.
The general population being immunized also protects our at-risk population, those who can't get the measles vaccine for various reasons, such as being immunocompromised.
And it's not just parents who need to be vigilant. After 2 cases were reported within a week of each other, one on the UW-Madison campus, the other in the Waukesha School District. Doctors say school leaders play a crucial role in identifying potential cases.
Well, I think it's important for educators and daycare providers also to be aware that there are measles outbreaks, and to be aware for signs and symptoms of illness that I talked about, such as the fever, the cough, especially the rash.
While the virus is a concern on college campuses, UW-Madison health officials say their campus may be better prepared than some.
Since many of our students are already vaccinated, that is less of a concern, because if you're vaccinated, you're already well protected, and that will become less of a challenge.
The DHS says those born before 1957 are generally considered to be immune to measles, but for anyone born during or after 1957 who didn't contract measles or receive the vaccine should receive at least 1 dose of the MMR vaccine. Chris?